Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Smoking a pipe today instead of sniffing snuff. I'm Paul Schallbetter, your Uncle Squinty. So the purpose, how do you like this pipe? I've got to tell you, this is my oldest meerschaum. This was probably made sometime in the 1970s. I have no idea who the maker is. It has a stinger tenon in it, little metal thing that goes into the stem of the pipe. I'm not going to take it apart to show you. But as you can see, this pipe is coloring beautifully. I would like to again thank a former friend. We haven't talked in years, but my former friend Daniel Green, living in Colorado, who provided me with this lovely pipe as a gift, and I appreciate it. By the way, it smokes flawlessly. I'm smoking some Sillam's Red. Get a little aromatic action happening here in the dank basement. I want to show you what I think may be the best, cheapest, absolute best buy in pipe lighters. Now, I've heard from a lot of expert pipe smokers, Fred Hanna among them, that say things like, you never want to use a Bic lighter, a disposable lighter, because they are filled with dirty butane and they don't burn as hot as they need to. There may be some ash, there may be some deposited chemical flavors in your bowl. Whatever the reason is, there is a universal hatred of disposable lighters in the pipe smoking community. Well, that's fine. I've always lit my pipes with dirty, dirty butane because I'm cheap. And also, I have to say this. I have bought now 6 different refillable butane pipe lighters. Zykars, Calibris. I mean, I bought good brands of pipe lighters, and they don't work. I can never keep them working. I can refill them. They'll light a couple of times. Then they won't light at all. Then I get frustrated. I throw them in a dresser drawer, come back 6 months later, they might light. But this lighter is refillable, it is disposable, and it always lights, because instead of using a piezoelectric igniter like the fancy pipe lighters use, this uses the old-fashioned flint and wheel like you would find on a Bic lighter. What am I talking about? I'm talking about this. This is a Clipper brand lighter, C-L-I-P-P-E-R. These are available virtually all over the world. And yeah, if you want to throw it away when it runs out of gas, you sure can. Or you can do what I did with this one, which is empty out the old gas. When, I used it for a while, but then I just emptied the rest of the gas and refilled it from a can of quadruple filtered butane. So now I've got clean butane in this lighter. It's not going to negatively affect my pipe smoking experience. It's cheap, it always lights, and if I lose it, I've lost $1.25. These things sell for between $1 and $1.50, depending on where you buy them. So, Clipper, refillable, disposable, surefire, probably the best pipe lighter you can have. Now I want to talk a little bit about my love-hate relationship with pipe smoking. One of the things that drove me away from pipe smoking early, other than that my first pipe was a disaster, I was sold a very bad basket pipe that the pipe seller claimed to be a Savinelli factory second. I'm sure it wasn't. I think it was probably made in Hunan or something. Badly drilled bowl, so it had hot spots all over the outside of the pipe. And then he sold me this really shitty Borkum Riff cherry tobacco. Did not sell me any pipe cleaners, didn't inform me that I would need to frequently swab out the pipe. So I got off of pipe smoking, but then I realized part of the problem is when I smoke, I usually don't have a lot of time. And I've always looked at larger gauge cigars and pipe smoking as being more of a project than a pleasurable pastime. Um, we live in a very accelerated world right now, and people are in a hurry. People's biggest complaint is they don't have enough time. And so the idea of sitting down quietly and spending 45 minutes, an hour and 15 minutes smoking a pipe never really appealed to me. It just takes too much time. Another one of my pet peeves about pipe smoking is largely it's a very expensive hobby if you're going to play with the big boys. Yes, you can get very inexpensive pipes, Missouri Meerschaums, Old Dominions, so on, and some down market pipes that are still perfectly acceptable. Stamwell makes a bunch of them. But it is expensive to get started in pipe smoking. Um, Maybe less so now because of the ridiculous taxes on cigarettes. Comparatively, it's cheap, but it is expensive to get started. And if you really get into the hobby, you may find yourself doing what I did. I didn't particularly develop pipe acquisition disorder, and if I did, they were all inexpensive pipes. Broggs, Mr. Broggs, Missouri Meerschaums, factory seconds, used estate pipes. So I never spent a lot of money on pipes, but what I did get was what I call tobacco acquisition disorder. I had the same thing happen with snuff. You want to try all the flavors, so you buy all the flavors. So right now, without exaggerating, I probably have something in the neighborhood of 10 kilos of pipe tobacco in my possession, 22 pounds of pipe tobacco. And it's fun. I mean, every day becomes a treasure hunt as I find tins that I forgot I had. I just found a box in my laundry room buried under a bunch of stuff, didn't even know. And in it is a fresh tin of McBaron's Original Choice, big one, 3.5 ounce tin. I found a tin of Stamwell Melange. I found Drew Estates Black Cavendish and Heirloom Cherry. And I found a tin of CAO Black. I also found a tin of the recreation of Drucker's Red Lion. And I'm just scratching the surface. I went through all my jarred tobacco that I just have in a little cabinet in here. Most of them are blending tobaccos. And came up with, again, another 10 pounds of tobacco because I got tobacco acquisition disorder. I wanted to ride all the rides, taste all the flavors, you know. One of the things that I found was this Sillam's Red. I took it out of the beautiful box it was in and just put the Mylar bag into this jar. And I'm glad I found it. It's good. I've gotten away from aromatics largely because they tend to burn hot and they seldom taste like what they're supposed to taste like in your mouth. They might smell like it in the can or in the pouch, but they don't really smell or taste like they smell. So, now where did I just put my little lighter? I just had it. God, I love being a blind pipe smoker. And that's another problem too. Okay, I can label all my jars, and some of them, in fact, and my tins are labeled in Braille, but not many of them. So it's always like, guess your best. Oh, what am I opening? Oh, shit, no, I opened up my 30-year-old tin of McClelland Aurora. I didn't mean to do that. Actually, I didn't. Although I did smoke through some early 2000s Stonehaven that I thought was pretty darn good. My wife was so pissed at me because she thought I was going to sell it and make a lot of money. It was from 2018. It wasn't that old. I take that back, 2015. But I've got a tin of Aurora that I think is from 1993. Got a tin of Pelican. You know, eventually I'll have to sell those. I've got a bunch of tobacco. More tobacco, frankly, than I will be able to use in a lifetime. So watch the funeral announcements and then come and just start claiming jars of tobacco. My wife won't mind. I mean, I got a lot of tobacco, and I have more pipes than I thought I had, too. And that pisses me off about pipe smoking. It can get very expensive at $15 a tin when you want to ride all the rides. Another thing that pisses me off about the pipe smoking hobby is there's a lot of folks that claim to be blenders, and there are some who actually are blenders. You know, Greg Peace is definitely an honorable blender. You know, Russ Willett is a great blender. There are several great blenders, but there's some guys out there that are absolutely clueless. And as a result, a lot of highly touted tobaccos, especially the gooped up aromatics, are just plain badly done. So you end up wasting money, which I don't like. Now, things like the Facebook pipe smoking groups, YouTube pipe smoking groups, outfits like that, you can get some good advice. TobaccoReviews.com. You can get some good reviews and some good advice, but you have to be really careful. And that takes me to my last pet peeve. I'm not going to call out any names, but I made friends with a very famous guy as far as the pipe shows go. And we became friends, and he referred me to an attorney in Minneapolis who is a well-known pipe collector, pipe smoker, tobacco aficionado. I was invited to his annual Christmas party, and then I don't know why, just as quickly disinvited. So I never got a chance. And I suspect it's because there is a lot of snobbery in pipe smoking. And I don't care if you're a straight grain collector or if you're a white spot collector, you know, you only want classic Dunhills made before the 1970s. Maybe you are a self-styled tobacco blender and you can do no wrong. But there's a lot of snobbery in this business. Well, I still have a sealed tin of 1972 Edgeworth sliced. Well, good for you. So what are you going to do with it at 80 years old? Are you going to smoke it? Are you going to sell it? Or are you going to gift it? The fact that you possess it really doesn't impress me. Had I known anything about pipe smoking, I lived during those years, and I could have collected some of those rare, no longer available tobaccos that everyone loves or pretends to love. My grandpa smoked Edgeworth. I don't remember if it was the sliced or the ready rubbed, but he smoked, what was the name of the company that Lorenzen that originally made the Edgeworth? I used to buy 2 pouches of it for him every Christmas. And I would go into the drugstore to buy it, and I'm, 8 years old, and I need 2 pouches of pipe tobacco, please. And they didn't blink, they just sold it to me. Oh, you must be buying a Christmas present for your grandpa. Yeah. I mean, it would have been a pleasure to be a pipe smoker back in the 70s when you could get real Dunhill tobaccos, not Peterson or somebody else's recreations of them, It would be nice to have been able to smoke Edgeworth, and I'm sure there's numerous others that I missed. Some of the early stuff from Drucker and Sons, but there's so many of them. But I'm stuck in 2022, and this is what I have. One of these days I will show you all my pipe cellar, such as it is. The tobacco is scattered in 3 different cabinets and 7 or 8 different big cardboard boxes. But it's a cellar, and someday I'll show it with you. Well, I just wanted to spend a little time with you and update you on my world. Talk about pipe smoking, and again show you It really is probably the best deal if you want to get yourself a pipe lighter that uses clean butane. You can get a couple of these clippers and then a can of butane refill, you know, quintuple filtered, quadruple filtered, nice clean butane. You can refill these. Again, your purchase price, I bought these in a case lot and they cost me about $1.03 a piece. I bought a bunch of them. But yeah, try them. A clipper. Try it for a pipe lighter. If you're worried about the dirty butane, I never have been, but if you are, you can refill them with clean butane. And unlike my $70 Colibri lighter, and unlike my $40 Zycar lighter, and unlike a couple of the other expensive pipe lighters I have, this one never fails. From the dank basement, smoking the Sillums Red, which for an aromatic isn't bad. It's not biting me at all. Nice sort of cherry scent in the air, if not in my mouth. Smokes exceedingly well in this old 1970s vintage meerschaum. A gift from Daniel Green, once again in Colorado. Thank you so much, Daniel. I use this pipe every other day. It's still one of my favorites. From the dank basement, smoking a pipe. We got some snuff stuff coming up and some nicotine pouch stuff coming up. I might even do my annual chew a wad of leaf tobacco, which I think I'm going to make into an annual thing now. Oh, before I close, I don't know if it's even proper for me to extend condolences to an entire empire. But today, along with my friends in England and in some of the Commonwealth, I mourn the passing of Queen Elizabeth II, 96 years old. During her lifetime, she consulted with no fewer than 15 prime ministers of England, starting with Winston Churchill and ending with the current and recently named Prime Minister Liz Truss. She knew 12 U.S. presidents and was a frequent guest of the White House. She united the Commonwealth in the modern era post Adolf Hitler. She was a monument for England. So I extend my condolences, and also I share in your sorrow in the death of an institution, Queen Elizabeth II of the United Kingdom. Rest in peace, great-grandmother. She is said to have been the grandmother of Europe, and it's hard to argue. So I'm thinking about that today as I smoke my pipe and talk with all of you. Stay tuned, more content coming.